Epstein is the scandal that just won't go away. I mean, Epstein at first blush seemed to have got away with some of it, when he was sort of convicted, but not much was made about it. And then they kind of came back for him for more. And then he ended up in prison and either committing suicide or being murdered. Take your pick as to whose story you believe there. And of course, Prince Andrew tried incredibly hard to disentangle himself from the scandal, gave that notorious Newsnight interview, and it still ensnared him. And then we've got the British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, ex-ambassador, I should say, because he thought he could get away with his Epstein links and then was ensnared and forced to resign over them. And what we're seeing now is Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and the entire Justice Department trying to escape from the Epstein scandal and are getting caught up in it and entwined. Now, it hasn't caused any resignations yet.
Let's head back to the United States because a shouting match erupted between the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, and a Democratic representative today when he was questioned on his handling of the victims of the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Let's have a listen to what happened.
These are women who came to the Hill and testified that they were groomed and raped at the age of 14 and 16 years old, and they called to meet with the president and to meet with the FBI and to have people investigate their claims. Some of them have never testified before. If you are so interested in getting the public to submit any information, why have you not met with them? You said you haven't met with them. Have you met with them? I'll give you one more chance.
My job as the FBI director is to invite all investigative leads.
To whether or not you met with these women who were sexually abused and raped?
Any insinuation by you or any people on your side that I am not manhunting child predators and sex traffickers, just look at the stats. And you talk about cover-ups, man.
Mr. Chairman,
you talk about cover-ups.
And I will take as much time as I
Where were you during the Obama and Biden administrations when these so-called cover-ups were going on?
Well, quite a row, and it's the second day in a row that the former lawyer has clashed with members of Congress during that hearing. Let's talk to Sarah Baxter, director of the Marie Colvin Center for International Reporting. Good evening to you, Sarah.
Yeah, hello, Carol. Gosh, feelings were running high there, weren't they?
Yes, they really were. So Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. Just explain what is going on here, what this committee is trying to establish.
Well, the committee is trying to get full access to the so-called Epstein files, which the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, said existed, but have since then there have been massive attempts by Donald Trump himself and all his administration to say there's nothing to see here and that there is no such thing as the Epstein files as such that they're covering up. And they want nothing more than the subject to go away. And Kash Patel is the director of the FBI. He's a big MAGA man, and he is furious that, having demanded all about Jeffrey Epstein when the Democrats were in power and promising to do everything he can to shed light on the scandal once the Trump administration was elected, is now trying to sit on the whole thing. And that's why you're hearing this fury, because, he isn't meeting the victims. He doesn't want to hear from them. But also the Democrats have been really needling the Republicans over this. I mean, one congressman was questioning Kash Patel while displaying that lewd drawing that Donald Trump purportedly drew of a woman and a sort of poem almost to Epstein as part of the notorious birthday book for Epstein's 50th birthday. So each side, the Democrats are now trying to make political capital out of this. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got those congressional committees which have already succeeded in getting the release of some documents, including that whole birthday book, which included that birthday card, though President Trump denies that it was him who wrote in that book. It was also the source of some of the information that's emerged about Lord Mandelson and his links with Jeffrey Epstein, which has now, of course, forced his resignation. And both this committee and Epstein's victims are still pressing, aren't they, to get more documents out?
Yeah, well, they do smell blood in the water. And I mean, Epstein is the scandal that just won't go away. I mean, Epstein at first blush seemed to have got away with some of it, you know, when he was sort of convicted, but not much was made about it. And then they kind of came back for him for more. And then he ended up in prison and either committing suicide or being murdered. Take your pick as to whose story you believe there. And of course, Prince Andrew tried incredibly hard to disentangle himself from the scandal, gave that notorious Newsnight interview, and it still ensnared him. And then we've got the British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, ex-ambassador, I should say, because he thought he could get away with his Epstein links and then was ensnared and forced to resign over them. And what we're seeing now is Donald Trump, Kash Patel, and the entire Justice Department trying to escape from the Epstein scandal and are getting caught up in it and entwined. Now, it hasn't caused any resignations yet.
And I'm sure President Trump will be hoping that this is not a subject that dominates his news conference later on tomorrow here in the UK. I should just ask you, Sarah, we're getting reports tonight of a shooting in Pennsylvania, a number of police officers killed. Just fill us in on what we know about this.
Well, we don't know much, to be very honest with you, Carol. The governor, Josh Shapiro, has rushed to the scene. 3 officers appear to have been killed. 2 are in a critical but stable condition, was the last I heard. People are still scratching their heads over motives. We don't know yet. There was a very mysterious posting by the Mexican consulate advising members of the Mexican community to follow official advice. And then this post, a social media post, was hastily removed, perhaps because it was implicating the Mexican community in some way in a shooting which we don't have full details about. So that's a rather bizarre event. Josh, you know, it's in a febrile atmosphere of political violence. President Obama spoke today about the importance of lowering the temperature and the right to disagree. And he spoke at America being at a very dangerous inflection point with everything going on. And I should add that Josh Shapiro and his family were victims of an arson attack, which appeared to be politically motivated some time ago, not that long ago, just from memory, about a year ago. So the atmosphere, as I say, is very febrile, but we don't know much about why these police officers were killed. It's an absolute tragedy, though, and it is very rare for that many officers to have died.